Good evening. Welcome to the Design Review Board meeting of January 26, 2023. The DRB meeting is now called to order at 5:03. Please silence all your cell phones at this time. The DRB meeting is being broadcast live on GTV, viewable on Spectrum Cable, Channel 6, and AT&T UVerse, Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city's webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices using a free app called ScreenWeave and choosing Glendale TV. Meetings are also archived on the city's website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting the questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. Current DRB agendas are available by visiting our website at www.glendaleca.gov. Records of decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division's webpage. Please note that any appeals of a case heard today must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. The appeal application is available online. Roll call. Ms. Lockeroff.
Present.
Mr. Kaskanian.
Present.
Ms. Chagayan. Mr. Welsh.
Present.
And Mr. Simonian. Okay, thanks. Report regarding posting the agenda. The agenda for this meeting, January 26, 2023, regular meeting of the Glendale Design Review Board was posted on the city's website on January 19th, 2023, and on the bulletin board outside of City Hall on January 19th, 2023. Approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes from January 12th, 2023.
Is there a motion to move the minutes?
I motion to move the minutes and approve.
Is there a second?
I second.
And we'll do a quick roll call. Ms. Lockroff,
Yes.
Mr. Kaskanian,
Yes.
and Mr. Welsh.
Yes.
Great. Next on the agenda is election of a new chair.
Go ahead.
I would like to nominate Nina Chagayan.
All right.
I second.
She does.
Okay. All right. Motion was made to make Ms. Chagayan the next chair of the Design Review Board. This will be a roll call. Ms. Lockroff,
Yes.
Mr. Kaskanian,
Yes.
and Mr. Welsh.
Yes.
Great. Motion carries 3-0. Oral communications.
Do we not have a vice chair election for DRB? Oh, no, we don't. We do pro tem. HPC has a vice chair. It's strange. We don't have the same system.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. Oral communication. Do you have any cards that for people wanting to speak without an agenda item?
No, there are no cards. For
Thanks.
Are there any callers from the public?
There are none at this time.
Very good.
All right, we're down to board/commission members' comments. Do you all have any comments? No. All right. We're down to old business. The first the first item on the agenda is 1766 Cielito. This case will be continued to the February 9th, 2023 DRB meeting. Next on the agenda is a new house at 2900 Greenwich Road. This is also old business. It was noticed, I believe, in November or December initially. So, I am the planner, so I will begin my presentation if that's okay.
Thank you.
All right, as I mentioned, the project before you this evening is located at 2900 Greenwich Road. It is case number PDR 2211918. It's a review of a proposal to construct a new 3-story, 3,489 square foot house and an attached 2-car garage. The residence is proposed on the north side of Greenwich Road and located on a 16,568 square foot lot. That lot is zoned R1R, floor area ratio District 2, and the site is currently vacant. On the screen here is the location map. The main street here is Chevy Chase. This outline here, my arrow is Greenwich. The subject site is highlighted in black right here. Actually, let me just go through the PowerPoint real quick and then I'll get back to my presentation. This is an aerial view of the site. Again, this is Chevy Chase here where my arrow is, and then Greenwich sort of goes up this way, and the site is highlighted in red. Street view, this is the site over here. Greenwich is here. Site plan, this is an outline in red of the proposed residence. The front elevation, the southeast elevation, one of the side elevations, the southwest elevation, the other side elevation, and realize the house has a little angle, so things can be a little distorted. And then the rear elevation. This is a rendering of the front elevation. First floor plan with the garage. The second floor with the main living areas and a bedroom. And the entry's right here. Third floor. Roof plan. And then a couple section drawings. Landscape plans. Material board. And I think you have a physical material board up with you. All right, so let me get back to my my presentation. Site planning for the project is generally acceptable regarding the proposed project. The residence follows the topography of the site and incorporates a prominent angle to account for the bend in the topography. And that's obviously the bend in the house is right here, and this is basically where the topography bends as well. Additionally, the projecting decks above the garage help mask the garage below it. And let me, what I'm referring to is this area right here. The deck extends in front of the garage and sort of masks that maybe less desirable feature. Finally, the landscape plans are appropriate for the hillside location and include drought-tolerant plants. Staff is recommending that the landscape plans be amended to include installing trailing plants or vines or something that hangs just to soften the appearance of the retaining walls. And that is really referring to this area here, as well as, in this area here. Like site planning, mass and scale of the project is generally appropriate. The long and narrow shape of the residence, along with its angle, conform with the topography of the site. Staff recommends restudying the balconies on the front facade and removing some from the design and/or eliminating the roofs just to better conform with the topography of the site. But otherwise, staff is pretty satisfied with it. That comment is really in reference to this area. There's a balcony here and there's a balcony here. And either eliminating the roof elements or eliminating the balconies altogether does give it a little more play in terms of the overall design, a little more play. So it, better follows the topography. So that's our suggestion there. And then finally, design and detailing is also appropriate in that the entry is recessed. There's high quality material used, and all of the balconies face the street, and so they won't infringe on the privacy of nearby residents. So that concludes my presentation. Staff is recommending approval of the project with the 2 conditions contained in the staff report. I can go over the slideshow again, or if you have any questions for me. We do have the applicant here as well as one addition.
Okay. Do any of the board members have questions for Mr. Kiesel?
Not at this time, yeah.
I have a couple of questions. So just, again, for clarity purposes and perhaps a little education purposes, up until a few years ago, the city's zoning ordinance required that any kind of grading that was more than 1,500 cubic yards or to build on a slope greater than, I think it was 50%, required a conditional use permit, correct?
Right.
But that no longer applies. That is now up to our discretion to approve or to deny or request changes. Right. But we have the ability to approve that without any conditional use permit, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was there any thinking about or any discussion with the city, the Public Works, about a sidewalk right-of-way need here? Because it's very tight up against the street. There's like no sidewalk space or anything like that.
Not at this point.
Okay.
I have put in a call to Public Works in terms of what they're maybe anticipating for improvements. Haven't heard back. I can proceed.
Would that require the property, the house, to be set back even further if there had to be a dedication for right-of-way?
The dedication should be taking place now.
Okay.
So or it should have been accounted for in
this.
the plan.
Okay. Yeah. And then the arborist, was there a report done? Because I went to the site and I was thinking, okay, I'll go and look and see, because there's a lot of oak trees around that neighborhood, but I couldn't get up there for the life of me.
Right.
So is there an arborist report that talks about what's on the property?
There isn't an arborist report. They are fine with what's proposed. There are oak trees on the site, but they're sort of, I would say, in the, this would be northeast portion of the site.
Okay, so none will be affected by this construction?
I think, Ed, I'm sorry, the applicant, have you contacted the arborists regarding this? Okay. So he may build that.
Okay. And then finally, my last question was the retaining walls that are done at the back side of the house. Are those pretty much maxing out the city's allowable heights?
I
for-
believe they are. Maximum height back there would be 15 feet, and if my memory serves me, and I'll take a look at the plans, there are portions of the retaining wall that are that height.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So with that, unless there's any more, okay, go ahead.
I do have a follow-up question to what you were asking regarding grading. When it comes to, for instance, like a construction and demolition plan and that sort of thing, do we have any authority in terms of requesting that, or is it something that?
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
can you
no,
repeat the first part?
My concern is with the amount of grading and everything on this site, just how it's going to impact the neighborhood. And so I'm just wondering, is there a construction and demolition plan that will be required in plan check, or is it something that we can request as a part of this?
Well, a
Yeah.
grading plan will be provided
Of
during
course.
plan.
Yeah, right. But not a construction and demolition kind of, best management practices that a contractor provides, there's no,
I think what will
yeah.
happen there
Right.
is Public Works will
they'll require it.
require that
Right,
with the grading approval of those plans.
okay. I think that's, and my other question was regarding mass and scale. You did have a comment regarding that it didn't follow the topography. And I just to clarify, you still feel it meets the threshold to not appear too massive to, I just like you to clarify that.
That's staff's analysis, staff's opinion. We did think that omitting some of the balconies or removing some of the roofs from those balconies would would further the tapering of the house with the topography.
Particularly the top floor balcony on the right is the one that's kind of jumping out. So.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, we can open the public hearing. Applicant, Mr. Edward Hagobian, I will welcome you to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Edward Hagobian. I'm the architect of this project, and I had the privilege to design houses in Glendale, maybe more than 500 or 600, most of it hillside. Anyway, we started this project just about the time that the COVID started. So we started about 2.5 years ago, and we had a preliminary design that was checked with the planner, and they recommended me to switch it towards the right side. So after we finished everything, we redesigned the project again. The logic was that at that corner might be some kind of traffic issues, so to avoid this accident, we pushed the garage to the far right of this property. Before I forget, we have a few scrap oak trees all the way to the back that we are not touching those. But then we are adding 9 new oak trees that we are showing in our landscape plans. This property was purchased by the owner like 15 years ago, and it was a kind of dream house for the owners. I'm surprised that he was not able to make it. Maybe any minute he will come. And
He is actually here, Ed.
yeah, okay. One of the design review board requirements is that we set back the second level as much as possible we can. When I say as much as possible, because there is a limit to push things back, because further you push, further you go into the dirt, and it becomes a problem. We cannot design the house. by pushing the second story back, we get some roofs of the lower level. So these are not a balcony that overhangs out. It's balcony that underneath there is a room. And I hope we have been able to accomplish that requirement of the design guidelines for hillside by pushing the upper level back. The lot is fairly big, 16,567 square foot. In my previous projects, I remember we designed two projects that their grading went up to 3,500 square foot or 2,600 square foot, something like. One of those is 3443 East Chevy Chase. So if you think that if this lot was almost 2 lots and each one could have a grading of like 1,500 cubic yard, so maybe 2,600 cubic yard can be divided into 2 lots, each one to be 1,300 cubic yards. Other than that, we have used the best material that we could. Colors, I believe, volumes and colors and materials are quality. And one of the issues that Roger brought is about the garage. Garage doors is recessed like 5 feet, which is a kind of hidden further. And the thing is that we are going to, now the condition of the street, if you look in the site plan, you will see that the dirt is now into the road in a shape like this, and maximum of 6-7 foot going to 0 at 2 ends. This will be gone. And we have a civil engineer that has designed the street, and we will pave the whole street and put the curb and gutter. And with having such a deep driveway which is 20 feet, requirement is 18 feet. We are 20 feet. So just in case if guest comes, they can park into the driveway temporarily, and they will not be a problem for the owners to back up to the street to turn around and go. This 20 feet depth is not common in that street. I have designed another house, like 3 houses down this property, and they have the same thing, about 18 to 20 feet depth of the driveway. Existing houses, they have short driveways, like 5, 6, 7, 8 feet, or maybe less. But we were lucky to be able to open up this driveway, the width of that for the parking and for using. There was a question regarding the backyard. We can have 15-foot high retaining walls according to the zoning code. And of course, when you are looking to the facade in this angle, if you stand in the street, the angle will be like this. So you will not see the retaining wall on the back. That is seen in the perspective better. These are the things that I can remember. Floor area ratio, even though that this is District 2, which is 40%, but because of the excessive slope above, I believe 40%, when it's more than 40%, that District 2, 40% floor area ratio drops to 30%, and that's what we have. These are the things that I can remember. If you have any other questions, ungraded area. The lot is big, but ungraded area that is supposed to be not less than 40%. We have 61%. The landscaping, we can add things that Roger in his report has required, and that's all I can think of. If you have any questions, please.
Go ahead.
I do, and in the staff's report, they had, or Roger had mentioned altering the roof slightly and the balcony as well. Did you have any thoughts on how you would address those conditions?
Altering the roofs?
Yes, in order to make the home appear to set back a little bit with the slope, in, I think it was condition number 2. You could speak more to that.
Sure. Yeah. Is the mic? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Oh, wait, it's working now. Okay. Yes, the condition, the suggested condition was either to eliminate some of the balconies so that there really was a full step back, or eliminate the roofs of some of the balconies so that there was a step back in that manner, as opposed to, like Jay said, particularly this top balcony here. Yes, the floors step back, but because it's partially enclosed and roofed, it really doesn't give that effect. And so that's what staff was suggesting.
The only roof that we have in the first floor, if you can show that.
Sure. This is the area that I was, you know, it's pretty flat here. If you eliminate the balcony or eliminate the roof and just have a railing, it does step back a little bit more. So,
that one we can accomplish.
what did you want me to show?
To show, I thought you were talking about that first story roof that we have it.
Right here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I think it's, no. And I think eliminating the balcony isn't so much the issue as eliminating the roof
Correct.
and lightening up that
Most
area.
of the balconies is a room underneath.
Okay. And so you would be open to reducing the roof that he just mentioned?
That roof, I hope we can, yes.
Okay. And another thing, I love that you provided the material board, thank you, is regarding the stucco. Well, what is the texture? Is it 2030 sand or is it smooth stucco?
It's smooth stucco.
Smooth, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I had a question about the retaining wall, particularly the one at the northeast corner. It appears on the plans that the top of the wall there is listed as 1,000 feet elevation, and it's right in line with the 1,000, or very close to the 1,000-point natural grade. So I'm wondering, is there going to be freeboard behind that wall, or is it going to be really butting up against the slope?
The freeboards are not included in the 15-foot retaining portion of the walls.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have a feet or so just for the drainage.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then generally speaking, because as you noted and as has been questioned before, there's a lot of grading talking about here and a lot of cut and removal. Did you study at all potentially having the house higher up on the hill so that there could be less grading, maybe a more separation between the street level garage?
This is what I can say. The codes at what we can do, they are so tight. There is no room to push building back or building front. If you push it front, then you lose the setback of the second story. If you go too far, you go into the dirt, and the retaining wall on the back is not possible to have. So my hands are so tight to play with what we have, that I believe we have done whatever is we could do, and we are on the optimum of everything.
Okay. Any other questions? Next speaker is Kathy Hartley. If you can come up to the podium, give your name, and then you have 3 minutes to speak. Three.
Oh, my goodness. Kathy Hartley, neighbor, 2905, directly across. If you could maybe put the fullest plan up, not the picture of the house. A couple of things, and I'll move around quite a bit, so I would hope that when we talk about designs and a plant list, that somebody is really recommending native plants, which is to say fire preventive measures when you do your planting. It wouldn't take much to make that change up. The other is I would submit that Mr. Hagobian, for all the great work he's done, and I think in later years far more settings that are conducive to an atmosphere that's appropriate to the preserving as much of the hillside, if not the hillside ordinance, which we know is history, as possible is good. And I appreciate that you're looking at that roof line, because that's an instance perhaps, right? So please, what I wanted to say is I don't think that it would be his role to really assess the geological / runoff / environment / impact. And I don't say that like not in my neighborhood, but seriously, right? That's the kind of assessment that should be done, and then, thank you, then combined with the design. So that's no small question, and I appreciate what is that retaining wall? What does it mean for everyone downstream? So I am the neighbor, and there's one that's a little better that shows the Greenwich street sweep. So mostly, I admit I'm here out of self-interest. For those of you that have been to the street, someone mentioned a parking, jam up.
Kathy?
Yes.
You have to stay near the microphone or your
okay.
testimony's not
I just wanted to
recorded.
show-
So just point and then come back, yeah.
I'd like to, I don't really know. I think my house is maybe like here, and my neighbor's house here, but I would love to see just those two things marked so we can figure out where the garage is. Looks like the garage has moved east towards the turn of the street. That's probably good for me, because we already have a jam up of cars. We have no curbs, no street markers, trash cans piled everywhere, 4 cars, 1 boat. My car's in my garage, but what will the new, residents bring? We used to talk about safety. There is a fire road. I really think that fire road gate should be marked, because you get to the end of that street and you'll find 4 cars. We used to, try to pull can the fire engine turn around card. That's it's a relevant question here. Someone said, well, my house was built in 61. It has no curb until 2005. I was the only one up there. Everything was fine, right? Now I have cars and trucks backing into my house. My neighbor has the same problem. There's very little room there. So I'd ask that I understand that you're looking at the design of the house. I am really here asking guidance about some serious review of what is the quality of that current, call it little neighborhood, microhood, whatever, because I think there's been neglect, and I think we're all pretty hefty taxpayers, and that there should be some consideration on that. On that same point, when my neighbor's house was built around 2005, there was perhaps some, I can't use any other word than inferior engineering on water runoff from that new house. My water, so to speak, goes downhill to Chevy Chase, which seems to be the reasonable thing to do. A new pipe was put in to run from my neighbor's house down our street. The sewer covers, holes, fumes are fetid for months and months. They're very unpleasant to walk down, and I'm thinking, this is our beautiful Glendale Canyon, and this is our wonderful city. It doesn't make sense. So I missed a few other small points about the house, like privacy on the balconies. I didn't quite get that. I would really like and even before I leave, I'd like someone to spot on any one of these plans, the fire road, the hydrant, the garage is obvious, but to mark it against the 2901, 2500 lots, which I can't even really see. So I'd just ask for your consideration there. And then we talk about this check plan, like that's where all these other questions might actually get answered. That's a little difficult for the average citizen to want to try to track and respond to. So respect, I'm not here to, quote, fight the House. I am here to ask for some common appeal and review of the actual allowance there. For instance, the sidewalk dedication should have been included. Was it included? You know, can I get one of those? Can somebody look at the street? But I'm repeating myself there. I think that's probably, I'm also was a little unclear about the 2 lots. Are we saying there could be a revision made to turn this rather large lot into 2 in order to make the slope business? So that sounded that was a little bit of a concern in terms of what's the plan here? Is it 1 lot, 1 house? Is that final, or is there something under discussion or potential discussion? I think that's probably my best shot.
Okay. Thank you very
you.
much.
I'd like to know, about DPW and the engineers, but who's really looking at the impact? Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker card is Pharaoh Atlassi.
Hi, everyone. As you mentioned, my name is Pharaoh Atlassi. I have been working with Mr. Hargobian on this project for the past 3 years, and also the pertinent engineers that have worked very hard on this. And they have made me work just as hard as they were working on this project. The concerns that Kathy has, I've had these concerns also. With respect to the civil engineering, I have a very good civil engineer that works with the city of Glendale. His office is in the city of Glendale, and he's had years of experience in this city. With respect to the runoff, they will all be engineered as specifications of the city of Glendale. So obviously, if they are not up to code, they will not be approved by the city of Glendale. And with respect to the parking, something that I really respected and enjoyed what Mr. Hagobian did was he recessed the parking so that a lot of things will be hidden within the property itself, namely one of them, maybe trash enclosure. Second that I can think of is the panel for the electrical supply for the house. And unfortunately, there are a couple of neighbors in the neighborhood that park their cars and their guests have their guests park in the car, where even going through the street is becoming a little bit difficult. Now, building my property there, it will expand the street and it will extend the street a little bit further down with the paving, so it'll create a little bit of relief for Kathy. And with respect to the native plants, as she mentioned, we have a very good and knowledgeable arborist, as well as the landscape architect. And one last thing that I want to say is that I was very, very lucky I was able to get this property. It is in a very, very beautiful area. I'm sure that you're from Glendale and you're familiar with the area. It's in a very, very beautiful part of Glendale, and I'd like to keep the beauty of that area. It's very gorgeous. It's a very, very nice area, and I've been nurturing this property for the past 15, 16 years. I purchased this in 2007, and finally have the money to go forward and build it. And I'm going to do the best that I can to, I can't say more beautify the area, but keep the beauty of the area same. If there's any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Lassi?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Callers?
No, we have no callers,
Okay.
but one of the speakers would like to speak again. So it's up to you.
Okay, I'll give 1 minute so make your comment very quickly, and then I'll give it back to Mr. Hagobian to give a rebuttal.
You need to
You
come,
need to come to the mic, to the
podium.
That little list for the, and maybe Mr. Lassian will help me. I just wanted to get a marker, as I said, for the current fire road, the gate, maybe our 2 houses. But that was a question because clearly I was hoping that that would include some extension of the road, which it does sound like maybe it does. Is that what I understand? That beyond, if you, beyond that fire road gate?
Yeah, we'll ask him when he comes back
Thank
up.
you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Hagobian, can you come back up again?
There is a lot to say in this short time here, and sometimes I forget all these things that I have to remember and to pass to you. The most important thing is that we will go through a plan check with the grading department, engineering department, and the street and fire department. All these people, they will check our plans very carefully, and I have the experience and I know what they want. One of the things that was a little bit different than other locations that I have designed, hillside projects, that engineering department wanted a wall of like 3 foot high right in the front of the property that prevents the debris and the slopes and dirt and things to go to the street, and that will be most probably required by the engineering department. Again, it's difficult for people to visualize that where the dirt is now, that is almost to the middle of the street, and that will be pushed, and our property line is back, and I hope they can visualize how deep is the driveway, how wide is the driveway, and we will not add problem to this area. I wish the others could, but they are limited. They have built, their house was built maybe 50 years ago or 40 years ago with little setback that at that time was okay or according to the code. But today is the minimum requirement is 18-foot setback of the garage. As the owner mentioned, we have a civil engineer that has done a lot of work with me in city of Glendale, and we have to go through a lot of plan checks and restrictions and things that will make this project to happen. I hope my neighbors in this street, they can read these plans carefully and see how much we will be accomplishing with these plans. That's all I can say. If you have any questions.
Any more questions?
I guess just one simple question is directly across from the driveway, is it just a curb at that point? I wanted to be clear, it's a little bit cut off. If you look at the site plan, for
You
instance.
mean across the street?
Right, directly across the street. It's just cut on the site plan, it's cut off a little bit.
I don't remember exactly. I think we have shown, yes, we have shown something, our engineer, our civil engineer, because the whole street will be paved, the whole street will be renewed.
Right.
I think we should have a curb there to support this paving that we are adding.
Right, okay. Thank you.
There was a question about the fire hydrant, and I do recall from visiting the site that the fire hydrant was very close to the location of that driveway. Will that need to be relocated?
That fire hydrant, as far as I can believe, is beyond our property line.
It is beyond your property
Yeah,
line?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Kobe.
Thank you.
Okay, so just quick confirmation, no more callers, no callers on the
No
phone?
callers,
So, okay, we
thanks.
can close the public hearing then, thank you. Who would like to lead us off in deliberations? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to start by saying, I think that this house is appropriately sited. I agree with staff's assessment of that it is, I really do like how it turns the bend there and works with the site that helps with it. It works with the topography well. I think the size of the home is appropriate to the neighborhood. Looking at the table, several of the homes are 3 stories high. This all makes sense, and for the size of the lot, the home is appropriate. I do have concerns about the mass and scale, in particular on the right-hand side, and I do want to talk to my colleagues here about that, just on how to improve that. And honestly, that's my one hesitation in approving this project is just not being able to see how those decks and how the roof will be altered. The other thing I would recommend is a consideration for the siding along the bottom. If you can pull up the elevation, it would be really helpful, or a 3D view.
Front elevation?
That's perfect, right? So on the left-hand side, as we're looking at this, there's great siding, and that helps to break it up and look like it's stepping up the hill more on that half of the home. And I think that adding more of that siding across the facade is going to help it look more, to emphasize the step back more. The other thing is I'm in strong agreement with staff's recommendation for altering the balconies slightly, removal of the roofs, and also the railing itself. I would love to see the stucco removed and just the railing go all the way across. I think creating a stronger line with the railing will again assist in the appearance of the home terracing back. So those are my recommendations. I would love to hear from my colleagues here on whether they feel that constitutes coming back for redesign. For me, I'm a little bit on the fence on it. I can see a lot of quality material selected here. I think it's a lot is done wonderfully, and so I anticipate the designer is going to do a good job of addressing these conditions. But I also, it's hard to approve something when you don't have that change in front of you.
Board Member Lawcraft, just
yeah.
for our sake as well as your colleagues,
Right.
when you're thinking about the balconies and changing, are we
Right.
talking just along the top floor at both
yeah.
levels? Or?
Yeah, along the top floor, specifically where the second and third story meet, those balconies.
And Roger, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think there are 3 balconies or 4 balconies along there. One
Correct.
looks inset on the far left.
One here,
Right.
one here, and one here.
Okay, so that
Right.
second little
The second one.
pavilion isn't a balcony, that's just a window in
Oh,
that
gotcha.
opening?
I thought that was.
I thought that might be a balcony
I thought
too.
it was as
Okay.
well. So it's not. I think
Let's-
I think
let's
that is
look
a
at the third
balcony.
floor, maybe that will,
I thought it was.
I think it is a balcony.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And
We just
I
saw it.
think just the removal of the 2 stucco walls that are framing the balcony is going to assist in that one area in particular. It'll make it look less like the full mass is coming forward.
Roger, you just passed a rendering that showed it pretty well, I think. So the
There are 4, I apologize.
the one in the middle there
Right.
doesn't have the roof over it. So we're
Right.
looking to have a condition on the right that's similar to that, but you think those stucco piers at the corners are too?
I think removing the stucco there will reduce the appearance of the bit larger mass, and it'll be in alignment with the other balconies, so that it really will cut that mass so that it looks like it's stepping back more. So I think that's important.
How about the balcony that's furthest on the west side there?
On the left of this elevation.
On the far
The
left?
other elevation for the left.
Let's see.
That
I'd
looks
love to
like
see
it's
that.
inset.
That would be
It-
this right here.
Right.
Correct.
Right. You know, this one doesn't affect me as much. I think it's because that lower roof and siding of the second floor volume there, I think helps to offset that. No, I'm that one in particular, I'm not as concerned about. It's really the right side of that one elevation, but both bays on either side of the front door, I think, could be more cohesive with each other.
Just as food for thought, one, we've worked with Mr. Hagopian a lot over the years, and there's certain signature aspects of his style.
Okay.
One concern I would have if we eliminated completely the stucco rising up to the railing would be then the balconies would feel kind of flimsy and ephemeral. I'm wondering if we narrowed those piers, had narrower piers that would just rise up at the corners with the metal work between them, if that could be a kind of a solution that the board might think is appropriate.
Would that also mean widening the windows? Because there seems to be an alignment.
There's an alignment that I would be lost, so
yeah.
that's, and below as well.
Right. I would just be concerned if because we have a lot of hillside, on the downslope hillside houses, we often have just railings that just stretch for the whole width of the house and
Right.
often have that cruise liner kind of look. On a downslope, it's a different animal than
The
this.
house just around the corner, what is it, 2920 is very similar. It doesn't have that, and so it has much more just railings, open railings.
Just for discussion, to see.
Yeah. But I do think that's a great example, actually. I don't know if you have that to pull up. It's 2920 Greenwich.
Slide that over, I guess. Yeah. Maybe slide the presentation back to the right side, and then I think you might be able to make that not full screen.
So while he's looking that up,
Yeah.
do you have other comments that you
Other
wanted to?
comments. I think that was my primary concern was massing in scale, in particular on the right side of the home. Otherwise, I feel it's a good size. All of these other things are met. I did have a question also for staff regarding what our authority regarding street improvements, specific, because that was discussed a lot today, and I just would love to hear back on what are our bounds and capabilities in terms of making things like dedication, things like that, if we have any authority there. Thank you. Oh, great.
You said 2820?
2920.
2920, okay. That's the fire, actually.
That is the fire road with the car parked right in
Yeah.
front.
Right, and then this is the fire hydrant.
Correct.
I believe, if I'm understanding correctly, this is Kathy's neighbor's house.
Okay.
And then this is her house, if I understood her
Okay.
Okay.
discussion correctly.
Thank you.
Okay, so 2920.
It was in the packet.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is this the house you're referring to? or
yes,
what?
and it's great in that what I thought was great is that you can see how by making the railings more transparent, it does look like it's stepping back more on the site. So that's just an example of what I was trying to communicate.
You could have a condition to match this type.
Right, correct.
That could also lead to an idea of putting some of the siding on
Correct. Yeah, correct. Thank you.
Okay, Board Member Kiskini?
Thank you. Overall, like the design of the house, and like what my colleague was saying, I like how it like perfectly fits around the corner of that little hillside over there. And for me, I agree with whatever staff was recommending and what my colleague was also bringing up. Other than that, I approve.
Okay, thank you. I very much in line with Board Member Lockeroff. The amount of grading and excavation that's needed to be done here is pretty overwhelming, and it is a very narrow street. So I can appreciate, the neighbors being concerned about that. That's a lot of trucks on a very narrow street. So, and you probably can't even bring the biggest trucks up there, so you'll have a lot of smaller trucks. So it'll be a big imposition on the neighborhood. So anything that could be done to mitigate and diminish the amount of grading would be a good thing to do here. So any effort that could be done to potentially lessen the amount of grading would be good. And it's really not so much the excavation that I'm worried about for the house, but you're also reshaping the whole hill. And, that's also causing a lot of excavation as well. So I understand that that's really kind of not within our purview, really. It's probably part of what would have to be done with the engineering, but I still think that if any effort could be done to mitigate the amount of grading that is needed here would be appropriate. But generally speaking, I think Mr. Hagobian has done a good job here. I think that together we'll work up some solutions here. I think that you have a good aesthetic here. You understand the guidelines, and I understand the restrictions. You're kind of in a box, and you can only do so much. So I appreciate that, and I know that you're making your best effort here. It's just that this is a very steep slope. It was mind-boggling to me to go there and see that the poles at the top were like 2 feet tall because the rest of the hill is all the dirt there. So it gives you a sense of the scale of the hillside that we're dealing with here. And in time gone by, this would have probably been deemed an unbuildable lot. So I think that it's, we have to work with what we've got. I think that you did, work in terms of trying to work it with the topography. I quite like the shape of the house, how it turns the corner there, that little sort of extension that you did, the one-story extension at the front with the siding on it in the dining area. I think it looks really well. It works really well. It helps break up that mass there, and I think it adds a nice little bay window kind of a shape to that front, which I think is nice. I agree with Board Member Lockeroff's suggestions about the removing that roof. And I know it'll require a little bit of a change in the layout there. You'll probably lose a closet by doing that, but it will definitely help to move it back. The one question I had, and I'll pose it back to you, is: does that remove the entire hip end of the roof there, so that the roof extends straight across? Or is there still some element of a hip that is there? I think that this is something that I probably would, trust staff to work with the applicant on trying to work it out. I don't think we necessarily need to send it back for redesign. But I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts about that.
I wouldn't have an objection to that roof being removed. I do think the designer will need to see how it balances with the way the entry right now is defined so much by a hip roof on either side.
Right.
So I think that it would be something that they need to work through. But if it was removed, I don't have an objection to that.
Okay. So generally speaking, I concur with her findings there that we should remove that roof or at least pull it back, whether the hip gable end there stays or goes. I think that staff could work that out with the architect. But that pulling those, particularly the side walls there, which really represent the straight up to the 3-story height, really could be and should be pulled back a little bit, because that will work very well to minimize that mass at that third floor height without really costing anything in terms of the building or the floor plan. So I think that we do that. I kind of like the idea of lessening the stucco portions of those walls there. I don't know that we have to do it, completely eliminate them. And I guess I would suggest to staff that they work with the applicant on maybe trying to thin them, and maybe if that means having to extend the windows, if that can work with that to maintain that alignment, I think that I'd be okay with that. If it works with Title 24 and everything that they have to deal with in terms of all of that stuff.
And alternatively, when we looked at the neighbor house with the full railing that Board Member Lockeroff looked at as a model, would that also be okay, or would you rather see the piers?
I think it would be okay. I'm
We can give
okay with
some
the either one.
flexibility.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
With the goal to increase lightness, emphasize the stepping of the volumes up the
Exactly.
hillside.
Exactly.
I would prefer it all the way, but I think it won't.
I think
I don't
it
know
looks
if
good on the other house.
I love the other how much it accentuates the step back that is occurring here. So that's
And what we could
yeah.
do is work with Mr. Hagopian to not duplicate the railing, so we don't have
Right.
twin houses.
Yeah,
but,
we don't want
that could be the issue,
So, yes.
right?
Okay, so he has the flexibility either way
Yeah.
to lighten the piers
Yeah.
or to eliminate them completely and
Or
wrap the railings.
it could be that the side walls are solid, for instance, and it's just the end of the walls that is creating that.
Even more
so that-
flexibility.
Yeah.
This is nice. Okay, great.
Okay, so with that, it seems like we have some consensus here. Jay, are you and Roger clear on that consensus from us?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
basically one of the grading condition we'll have to leave kind of open-ended to just achieve a goal of reducing the grading if possible.
If possible, yes. I mean,
And then we have the removal of the roof at the right side, and that's either getting rid of the hipped form completely or cutting the hipped form, whatever works best with the rest of the roof configuration. We have several options in terms of the railings, and that would apply at both the right-hand balcony and I think corollary at the balcony just to the left of that, which are narrowed piers, lightened piers, sidewalls with a railing spanning the whole area, or railing at all three sides. So that's plenty of flexibility, hopefully. And then find ways to bring more siding to the design, I would guess particularly at the middle level.
correct, yes.
Correct, yeah, at the middle level specifically, to help to increase the effect of the terracing.
And then there was a landscape condition. Were you interested in maintaining that?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was great. And what about regarding native plants? That was brought up by the community in terms of, it's always wonderful to have native plants, so that would be a great consideration.
Okay. So add that as a consideration.
That's fine.
Consideration.
Yeah, consideration is fine.
Right. And I did ask, but I didn't hear back regarding our authority regarding street improvements. That's all in the plan check process, correct? But I would love to hear
It
your.
is, yeah.
That's
The
what
plan
I'm
check
understanding.
process with
Right.
the engineering division.
Correct. Thank you. Well, can we hear the full conditions now? I guess that was it, right? That was it. Okay. Then I move to approve the project with the conditions just read. And yeah, and the one consideration. Thank you.
I second.
Okay, a motion was made to approve the project with a number of conditions and one consideration. This will be a roll call. Ms. Lockeroff,
Yes.
Mr. Kaskanian,
Yes.
and Mr. Welsh.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Oh. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Great.
All right,
Thank
we
you.
are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
The
Good
meeting
luck.
is adjourned at 6:08.